MPN's Power Player is sponsored by ZDMS Dealer Management System, the heart of technology in your dealership and the engine that drives productivity and profitability. Schedule a demo today at zdms.com.
Hey everyone, today we are with Jason Thomas, who's the media manager for Western Powersports. Jason, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me and let's talk about all things powersports here. Now, you've got a bit of a history. How did you let's go back to the training wheels days. How did you get into powersports?
I raced motorcycles my whole life, and that allowed me to have a 15-year career of racing Supercross and motocross. So I was always around the races. You get to know everyone. It's a big sport with a really small industry. So a lot of people are really tight knit, and I was offered an opportunity towards the end of my career to join Western Powersports and more focused upon the fly racing side of that. And at the time, I wasn't prepared for it, but as I got closer and closer to exiting the professional side of racing, it just made a lot of sense. The toughest part of it for me was I had to make a choice to move to Boise, Idaho. I'd grown up in Florida, and although I traveled very extensively around the world, moving your whole life somewhere is a different deal. So once I made that jump, that was October of 2012. I've been there ever since, and my role has expanded. I've become, that company is like family to me, and I could not be more thankful for the opportunities I've had. And it's crazy to me to say it's going to be almost 11 years now.
Wow, that's impressive. And to go back to, we're talking longevity here still. So a 15-year career in something that's been known to chew people up and spit them out in 4 or 5 years. What do you attribute some of your longevity to?
Well, a big part of it is you have to try to stay healthy, and it's not realistic to stay healthy all the time. You're going to suffer injuries, whether they're nagging or a little bit more serious. That's just a part of the game, and you have to be willing to accept that if you're going to do it. But I think you have to also be able to reinvent yourself, and because there's always new talent coming through, and these kids that you've watched as amateurs, or maybe you grew up at a local track with them and they were just on a 65. Well, guess what? If you're around long enough, you're going to have to race them as a professional. So they're bringing new skill sets. They're continuing to innovate how to ride and go faster. You think about the things that I lived through, like scrub and staying lower on the motorcycle, and all these things that allowed you to lower your lap time. Well, you can't just continue to do it the same way you always did it, because if you do, you'll find yourself on the outside looking in and no longer relevant. So through the off season, you really have to look at where your strengths and weaknesses are, and continue to just look at the youth. What are they doing? How are they going faster? And then implement that into your game. And if you can continue to do that, then you can stay around, because you do have the benefit of experience, right? You do have things to bring to the table. You have more racecraft. You've seen things they haven't. So if you can negate all of these things that they're bringing, and then of course add in what you have to bring, then you can stick around. It's not an easy task. I wonder sometimes, and I've had other people ask me, like, how were you constantly, like, anywhere from 8 to 15 for 12 to 15 years? How did you do that? And I'm like, I was very lucky. For one, I had great mentors, everyone from Tim Ferry to Sebastian Tortelli and Chad Reed, and some of the best riders that ever came through the sport. I was lucky enough to practice with them on a daily basis. So I got to see what it took, both on a training level and on a skill set level. So yes, I could not do what they did, but if I could get close and just continue to elevate alongside them, and that was typically good enough to keep me at least in the main events and making a living doing what I wanted to do.
That's there's 2 points that I love that you made in there. First off is the doing what you want to do, because although it's different now, I'm assuming you're still doing what you want to do.
Sure.
In the same part of that too, have you been able to you talked about that adaptability that you had, because racing, the way it has changed, the way it changed over that 15-year stretch was phenomenal. Have you been able to transfer that over to what you do now?
I had to, right? It's not so different, because when I jumped into the power sports business side of things, I didn't know much, right? I was very competent in the very small space that I knew well, but outside of that, how to relate to a dealership's unique business and what's going to work for them, and understanding all those things and how to sell something correctly, right? how to be able to accept a no and understand that it's not the right time. There were so many aspects that had just had no experience with. And I was very fortunate that Western Powersports and my leaders at the time, Terry Baisley and Bob Lowry, who are industry veterans, you're talking about probably 75 years of experience between those two. They were very, very patient with me and understood my perspective that I was green and I needed to learn, but I was also willing to learn quickly and work overtime to try to absorb these things and cut down that integration period as quickly as possible. And I told them that on day one is like, I'm always, well, not always, but for a while, I'm going to be the least informed person in the room. So I'm going to do a lot of listening and not much talking. And when I feel like I'm in a place where I can add to this conversation with something wise or a solid opinion or really good influence, then I will. But until then, I'm not going to assume that I know much, right? This is my place to learn. Give me some time, and then I'll be ready to kind of take over. And yeah, that took years to really be in a place where you can understand the scope of a situation, apply the information you have, and then take steps moving forward that are going to be the right direction. So yes, I owe them an incredible amount of gratitude, and they'll have my undying respect for taking a chance. Right? It was on me to make good on that chance, but not everybody gets a chance, and I understood that, and I needed to make the most of it.
That's unbelievably well put, and to me that's a great story, and to me it seems very much of an extension of your career on the bike. It's that adaptability, it's that willingness to learn, and it's that moving forward. And so kudos to you on that. And that's obviously put you in a great spot on the bike and off, which is awesome.
As many of you know, taking physical inventory is something you do once, maybe twice a year, and sometimes you avoid it altogether. With large quantities of parts, accessories, chemicals, tires, and various other merchandise throughout your store, it's not a simple task to complete. There is a better solution. A solution that gives you the ability to cycle inventory counts anytime without disruption to your business. That solution? ZDMS RFID Physical Inventory. With RFID tags placed on inventory, you can cycle counts or conduct physical inventory with the RFID handheld scanner by simply pulling the trigger and walking around your dealership. RFID scanners do not require line of sight, so counters don't need to bend down under partitions, climb shelves, or position items to be visually seen to be counted in most cases. Contact your ZDMS representative to learn more about RFID physical inventory and how ZDMS is the only dealer management system in the powersports industry building the technology your dealership needs.
As you go through, what are some of the trends that you see that are starting to form that people should be aware of?
Well, we're in this great period of technological advancement. For years and years, if you look at like motorcycle helmets, for instance, I believe that off-road helmets are some of the fastest moving technological items there are today. Because when I was racing, there was really no change for years and years. I'm talking decades. It was this basic EPS and nothing else. No one was really trying to advance it. No one thought there was anything that could be moved forward. And really, since about 2013, we have taken giant steps forward. And I'm comparing against the NFL or whatever sport you'd like. Really, motocross and off-road power sports have really, outperformed everyone. We've had some of the companies that we work with at Fly Racing, a company out of the UK called Rion. They have this really new age tech that they're integrating into the NFL and the football helmets these days. And we were on the leading edge of that. And it's not just us. I'm very proud of the work we've done with our Formula helmet at Fly Racing, but other companies are doing that too, right? And I commend everyone for taking safety so seriously and not just falling back on, well, this is the way we've always done it and there can't be anything better. There are things that are better, right? And if it just keeps one person safer or saves one person's life in an accident, it's all been worth it, in my opinion. And it's been great to see. It's one of I think the most important developments I've seen in power sports maybe ever, because I truly have seen and I hear from all these customers about, they went through this horrific crash or had an accident, and yes, maybe they sustained some sort of injury, but thankfully their head and their minds were okay, and I truly believe that's due to all the development, all of the all the power sports helmet companies out there.
That's a great point. I'm also a big proponent of the helmet protection, and have seen the same thing. The way that things have moved forward, and we understand better now what's actually happening to the brain and what's going on during those impacts, and how we can better protect for that. That technology has been amazing. What is some technology that you've seen where you're like, okay, is this a step forward or is it?
Well, in the apparel side, everything's about minimalism now. It's everybody's trying to get super lightweight and super high performance. But anytime you go that direction to the extremes, you're going to give up in other areas, right? You're not going to have as much padding. You're not going to have these other materials that are built to maybe protect you a little bit. So those are ones where I can definitely tell the performance. And as a rider and a racer, I understand it, because when you're out there, man, it just performs so much better. But you're basically wearing nothing. Like, you're wearing pajamas at some point. And I look at the professional racers now. We customize everything, and not just us. All the brands customize all of the lines for these riders, and it looks like they're wearing skin suits when they're out there, because it's custom tailored and it fits so tightly. But it's not doing a lot of protecting. So there's definitely a little bit of a give back there. And thankfully, on the consumer side, we haven't gone to those extremes. We do offer some things that lean that direction. But first and foremost, our duty as a vendor is to try to help consumers and riders stay safe. That's always been our mandate. That's always what we're trying to do, is how can we keep riders safe? How can we protect them so they can wake up the next day and go riding again? So it's a little bit of a delicate balance. We always have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of, yeah, we can make this product weigh nothing, but are we really doing our job? Or are we really respecting the fact that we need to be safety first? That's where you really have to try to draw a fine line.
That's a great point, and I love that. And it's, once again, it speaks to your career of 15 years, that if you're safe, you can have a 15-year career, which to me is, once again, it's astounding.
Yeah, I've learned that honestly from talking to parents. I'm thankful I get to go to all these races every weekend. I'm coming to you right now just outside of Unadilla, New York, where I'll be on NBC commentating the race this weekend, right? So I am in this position where I speak to a lot of parents. Their children all race, and they only care about one thing, and that is keeping their child safe. They don't care how much their product weighs. They don't care what color it is. If their child is okay at the end of that race and it protected them in some sort of incident, job accomplished, right? So That's what we always have to remember is, we're in this race to make it look amazing and make it the lightest, sleekest, most ventilated, all these things. But you always have to keep in the back of your mind, is it the safest we can make it also? Because if we can do all those things too, great. But number one has to be keeping that customer safe.
I love it. And to me, I think that is an amazing spot to end on, the fact that it's performing well, but we've got to make sure that it's safe. I really want to thank you for your time today, and I'm going to let you go out and enjoy the weekend and enjoy some racing.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here, and anytime, come back.
Thank you.